It shall send its report to the planning board and the planning board may grant or deny the permits. So that is the role and the duties of the minor work committee.
So I had a question on this, when I was sworn in by the clerk, I think. So, and maybe we can clarify that. So it's my understanding, if the three people are not all available and present, then that meeting cannot take place, that you have to wait until all three can attend. That's not a situation that one of the alternates could attend. Am I correct in that?
No, because they are designated committee members to serve on the committee. So they're the designated members. It wouldn't be swapped out. It wouldn't be swapped out as in an alternate can only take your place at a regular public meeting.
That's
Right.
was my question. So the three people that commit to this have to be all present to move forward on the applications that fall under this committee.
Yes, yeah, so we would discuss or myself and all whoever the chair and whoever is selected to be on the committee of good timing or how often we would meet, would it be as needed? As applications come in, do we do a call? Because we don't have to do a public hearing on this. It's a committee, so you meet as a committee. Can.
So I have a question. Is there possibility of virtual meetings?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So should I put forward?
I mean, yeah,
Volunteers.
whoever wants to volunteer, yeah.
Okay, so we'll put forward the request for 2 volunteers to become members of the minor work review committee. How we do it?
So
Do you want to do it, Lou, or no?
Do you need one more?
Yeah.
I would do it.
So as recommended by you,
Okay,
you appointing Paul and Liam to be on the minor work committee.
Louis.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Paul and, yeah. So. Right, I don't think we have to go on that, right?
Okay.
Good, it's appointed by you. Okay. Anything else that you want to discuss?
So are we in new business now?
Yes.
Okay, again, looking at reviewing the ordinance, and I talked a little bit about this before we opened the meeting, I was asking about when the last time a survey of historic sites was done, and I guess, Shauna, you thought maybe it wasn't since the first commission ever was appointed, which was in the 1990s, I think. So one of the things that I would like to see done is to have a new survey completed so that when an application comes before this commission, we'll know where that domicile falls, and, just if we have some idea about if it falls under the Monmouth County survey, if it falls under our survey, I'd open that up for discussion if anybody else is in favor of that kind of review taking place now 3 decades later.
Well, we have an inventory that we were working off of, and that's the list that's in the 2009 master plan and all the properties that are within the Washington Street District and the Broad Street parentheses design district overlay. But if you would like to add new properties, then you do a survey.
Yeah, I think my personal position is that there's a lot of places in Red Bank that should be considered historic that do have relevant either markers on them or monuments on them that should be part of a survey. So the survey, I think, can extend beyond the historic district or the business district to include all of Red Bank.
You couldn't really do something like that, so it's the way how it works and the ordinance is that you would only look at sites that are on the Red Bank inventory itself. We can't go outside of the perimeters unless you designate a property to be on as a historic resource. So you have to go through the full procedure of making a presentation before. If something is not included, already included on our current inventory, then to place something on our inventory, you'd have to have someone do a presentation. This board would then vote on it. Then you take it to the planning board. A presentation would be done there. Then the planning board recommends to council to add the that site on the existing inventory.
Okay, oops. So I'm looking at page 4 of the ordinance, and I guess maybe it's the way it's written. But item C1 on page 4 says to identify, record, and maintain a survey of buildings, comma, structures, comma, sites, comma, objects, comma, improvements, comma, and districts of historical significance within the borough. So it seems like a list of things, not those first things that happen within the historical district.
You know, I'd like to suggest the attorney, Michelle,
Donato?
yeah, she is, sounds like these are questions, interpretation of the ordinance, in my opinion, are best fielded by her. She was very instrumental in crafting the ordinance. So I think us kind of guessing what that means,
Turn on the.
us guessing what the intent of that is, could probably be clarified by her. She's very responsive to emails, or I don't know if she has an intention on coming here once in a while.
Right, so she is by request, so I just have to give her advance notice. And I can do that for the next meeting to have her just come through and kind of walk everyone through the ordinance, if that's okay. And then I'll also have ready for everyone the 2009 registry, the 2009 historic preservation element registry. And then all the blocks and lot, because that includes your, all the lots within each of the districts. And the individually identified sites.
Okay. Just a point of clarification, so all the designated historic districts and sites that are already on the register are grandfathered into this new ordinance?
Correct,
Right.
yes, they're already there. Because it was done through the process of the master plan of the 2009 historic preservation element.
Great, okay.
So is it fair to infer from all this that nothing has been added
No.
to that list since 2009?
Well,
Correct.
since the 1990s.
No, since 2009.
Oh, okay.
That's the official list that we're working off of.
The list from 2009 does that include anything on it? Does that include anything on it that was added since the 90s? This is just to get a sense of maintenance and how old the list really is.
So on the existing 2009 master plan list, the eldest property, the first set of properties were approved in 2004. And then the last property was approved in 2006. So those are all the properties. And I can send that out. I'll
Thank you.
drop it in the folder so everyone can see it.
Another point of clarification, is there any guidelines that currently exist on what the criteria is to designate something as historical?
Yes, so the criteria for designation is in 490 dash 490 dash 7.01, 7.1.
Page,
Let me just cite it first and then I'll give you the,
okay.
E. So 490.55. It's B, actually, no, it's D. So page 10. It lists the criteria for designation. So criteria for evaluating and designating historic districts and sites shall be guided by the National Register criteria. The commission or any interested party may recommend designation of historic resources that have integrity of location, design, setting, materials, workmanship, and association, and that meet one or more of the following criteria. Character, interest, or value as part of the development, heritage, or cultural characteristics of the borough, state, or nation, or association with the events that have made a significant contribution to the broad patterns of our history, or association with the lives of persons significant in our past, or embodiment of the distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or method of construction, architecture, or engineering, or identification with the work of a builder, designer, artist, or architect whose work has influenced the development of the borough, state, or nation. Embodiment of elements of design, detail, material, or craftsmanship that render an improvement architecturally significant or structurally innovative, or unique location or singular physical characteristics that make a district or site an established or familiar visual feature, or historic resources that yield or may be likely to yield information important in prehistory or history. Those are the criteria for designation.
So could this be another area that the lawyer addresses for us? Because it seems to me that this opens up the possibility of protected structures or sites beyond these, the Washington district or the business district.
Yes, this would be, she can clarify, and expound upon it some more, but these would be the criteria. So if someone comes before this commission and says, I'd like to designate a site locally, they have to fit one or more of these criteria, and that's what their presentation would be on. And that's what you would evaluate the designation on.
I guess maybe I should make,
Are we running out of time?
No, that's just, it
Oh.
happens. That's,
So my concern is, where I'm going with these issues is, I think there are buildings that are significant beyond the historic districts, and I'm just concerned that certain portions of town will just have their importance kind of swept away by modular structures that, taking away some of the character and some of the learning possibilities here in Red Bank. And I don't say that I have a list in my head or anything, but I think we have an opportunity to learn through architecture. And when we look up, it's important to see something that we could learn from. And we don't really know what's out there, what kind of gems are out there, I think.
Right, so that's what, for anything that's not within the current district, that's what these designations would be based, that's what these criterias would be for designating a new structure outside of the district or designating a new historic district. So these are the criterias that you would use for that.
I didn't hear age in that list. so-
No, there isn't an age limit. It's just based on events, character, designation.
So that means a structure could be 50 years old or 250 years old.
As long as it meets one or more of these criteria. It's what? It meets one or more of the 8 criterias that I just read. So if a famous person lived there, then that place may qualify, but it's based on the opinion of this board.
Okay, so the agenda for next time we would have our lawyer here and address at least those 2 issues or any other issues that may be important for us in moving forward?
Yeah, she will be here. I will make sure that I'll tell her, actually send her an email tonight.
Would there be a way to request for the Michelle Donato to provide us a set of guidelines that could prepare us, for selecting certain designated sites or districts?
So that's what this whole section is, like from D to E on page 10. So it's the procedures for designation. And it's these criterias, but also I know Michelle made a suggestion and has discussed it with myself and Christina, is for design guidelines for how you will base your decisions on reviewing applications that appear before this commission. That's something that this ordinance refers back to. It's the standards that you would kind of use to base your judgment off of, and not just because it's, it looks pretty. This will be something like setting. So there is in the budget for the design guidelines to be drafted. So I'm just waiting for the budget to be approved, and then we will do an RP or RQ for a professional to come in and do a design guide and to create a design guidelines to help with approving applications that come before this board.
So as far as getting input from the public on any kind of ideas they may have for what is historically significant in Red Bank, what would be the procedure for that?
So if you're saying if someone would like to designate a site, or they have an opinion on what should be done to a site?
Well, or we as a commission are looking for input into how to
Like
expand
review an application or?
well, or to expand the historic districts of Red Bank. Would there be a budget to, call a public meeting for the public to have input into what they vote on, what they think should be historic?
So what we
Very
can
historic.
do is, on the agenda, we can set aside an agenda item for public discussion or public comment on potential sites for historic designation, and then there we can work on maybe based on what the public says, we can for the next meeting then come up with like a presentation so that we can begin the beginning process of designating a site through this board, commission, the planning board, then council.
So
So, just as a follow-up, to something that you said, Shauna. The basis of something being historic could be that somebody of importance had lived there, like the Reckless House, for example. Has there ever been any discussion to actually have markers that explain the significant feature of a house or a building in town, so that if somebody were walking through Red Bank, they would actually understand why it was significant? So for example, the train station, when that was restored, there was quite a lot of information, given there, and you have that large plaque of New Jersey and to take away. There are places that are historic that people may not know why they're historic. So has there ever been a conversation of putting up markers, which would involve perhaps fundraising or budgeting? Does that ever come up?
That has not ever come up, but I do know, I can't remember the organization, and I think it was in partner with Thomas Fortune House. It was a walking tour of Red Bank, and they had, the QR codes that you could scan.
I did that.
Yes, oh, okay, there you go. So that's the.
I did that with the high-tech students, yeah.
So that was the, that's the closest we've ever come to something like that.
The stickers on the front.
No,
No, there was a walking tour, your own personal walking tour. I mean, you did, so.
yeah, no. So, yes, this was developed by high-tech high students. There's the app, right? The other one was done by someone else, and they have those stickers that don't last on the various walkthroughs in town. The other one are at the Riverside Gardens and at the train station. So that's like an app that has 4 tours on it, but we don't, other than 1 or 2 houses in town that actually show where they were established, or the house on South Street that was built in the 1700s or whatever. We really don't have an understanding of, or the Reckless House, for example, of why they are significant and what, and of course, the ferry sign that I helped kind of revive about what the ferry terminal on Wharf Avenue and that kind of stuff. But it seems to me that we need more kind of cues for people that you're learning here by walking through Red Bank.
So what we can do, we do have a grant writer. The borough works with a grant writer, and I can request from them to, look into grants, for us to, for the borough to do like QR or whatever type of form of these information. So if we can maybe apply for a grant, so it doesn't have to come out of the borough's budget, to kind of do something like that. I know the New Jersey Historic Trust, they have a grant out for historic initiatives and things like that. I think we just missed their deadline for their grant submission, but I know their next round is like later on this year. So we can apply for these historic preservation grants. And I know New Jersey HIPPO, Historic Preservation Office, yes. Historic Preservation Office also, they offer grants. So I can ask the grant writer to be on the lookout for these type of grants and apply for them. And that way, the borough can have funding to order these placards or whatever, if needed.
There's lots of models around of other towns that have done something similar. Doylestown, Pennsylvania does a particularly good job at designating through just very simple plaques on the side of buildings, their significance.
Along those lines, when I read through the ordinance, I didn't see a lot of incentive for people to want to be designated as a historic building or site. Talking about the grant writing, is there possibility to try to build say a historic preservation fund for Red Bank that would help people if they were in the historic district to repair their house and use proper materials and things like that.
That would have to be done through an ordinance. So like the Shade Tree Commission has the Shade Tree Trust Fund. So if anyone does not, put up a shade tree, then they pay into the Shade Tree Trust Fund. So that would be another trust fund that the council would have to set up and designate like a funding, maybe if like there's a violation that funding can go into the historic preservation trust fund, and that can help. And then any funding can kind of any grant funding or any other additional funding that we receive can go into that to help with I guess any type of financial hardships. Okay, I just want to, if we are done with any other questions, I just want you all to like hold on your calendar, maybe if you're interested in joining and attending the New Jersey Historic Preservation Conference. That is June 5th and 6th, and it will be held in Jersey City. It's all day.
Fifth and sixth of March.
5th and June.
Of June.
Of June, just.
Where in Jersey City?
The location isn't set yet. The agenda is not set yet, but as soon as I get the information, I'll send it out to everyone and ask if anyone would like to attend. And then I could register everyone if you're interested.
Cost to attend.
Yes. It's covered by the borough. Okay. So yeah, so that's just that. I just wanted everyone to kind of put that placeholder there. I think one day is virtual and the other day is in person. So I'll send out the save the date.
Great, thank you.
It's for you to ask if there's any other agenda items for discussion.
Are there any other agenda items for discussion?
Not for me.
You would make a motion, ask for a motion to.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Oh,
yes, you can ask for public comment.
Cindy, you have a question?
So you would vote for a public, then you open it up to public comment, and then you take a vote.
Okay.
So we need a motion.
Okay, so motion to open the meeting to public questions.
Second.
And then all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Cindy Burnham. I don't know if this is working or not. Cindy Burnham, 71 Laurel Street. Paul, do you remember when this before you guys got on it? And Paul, you were just put on. Remember when we met? I wasn't on it, but I went to the meeting and I handed out those papers.
Very first meeting, maybe you handed out, I think it was, you handed out maybe the prior ordinance?
I did that.
You handed something
There
out.
was a piece of paper, and Liam, you probably remember this, because you
I do remember.
there was another paper I handed out, it's tax incentives. The mayor had developed, like if you open up your porch, you get a tax break. If it's been an enclosed porch and you open it up in a historic building, you get a tax break. There were a whole list of them. Of course, I was gonna bring them tonight, but I forgot. And there were also design guidelines, but I gave them all out. Now, Liam, you still have that paper?
I'd have to look in my files.
Okay. Because I think that would help. That was the old design guidelines, and why do we need new ones? Let's look at the old ones and see what's going on with those.
Yeah.
My thought. And, okay, that's it. Oh,
Thank you.
Does putting stones on a front yard, if it's in the historic district, is that a minor or a major?
That would be considered minor.
But it really changes the look of the neighborhood and the house. So, see, you say minor, I say major, who makes that decision?
The zoning officer, which is me.
That's why the old historic commission had teeth in it, to stop these people from putting in stones in the front yard,
So,
things like that, because code couldn't enforce it.
right, so if I decide that something as a zoning officer, administrative officer is a minor work, then the 3 members on the committee would then review the application. And if they decide to deny it, as I read before, then they would go and make their case, the applicant, before the planning board. If the committee decides that they want to approve such a work, minor work, then it moves forward. It doesn't have to go before the board, but it's the committee, the minor work committee that makes the decision. I just designate where it goes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Cindy, before you go. So oyster shells was something that was used in lieu of stones for
You know that, but you know, I live in the heart of the historic district and we've got absentee landlords. And they think they're gonna get over by putting stones on the front yard and really the weeds and the trees grow up all through it and doesn't get addressed. So that's what I talked to the code enforcers about. How can we stop this? And that's when they gave more power to the historic preservation. And you guys, well, the new administration has pretty much like taken that away. But I get it with the shells, but you know, in the neighborhood, shells just don't. I don't. Did you do your front, well, I don't know.
Well, I mean, again, personal taste and design of the building, if it's more in in line with like fisherman, Nantucket style, that kind of stuff, it does go with that architectural style.
I do agree with that, but in the neighborhood where you have Victorian homes. You know, stones just don't. Then they put an edge and railroad tie and it just changes the whole look. Okay, thank you.
I would like to point out, before we break though, there was specifically excluded from the ordinance any landscape requirements. That was a subject of conversation, Liam. I don't know if you remember. But I don't know.
Get a little closer, that's all there. Get a little closer. Perfect.
What I was saying was there was discussion, this ordinance that was passed at one time was over 35 pages long. And landscaping was specifically excluded because we didn't want neighbors complaining when someone tried to plant an arborvitae or tried to move a flower bed or do something like that. So we're trying to avoid that. So there is a certain, my understanding of it, a certain reasonableness standard that was incorporated within the ordinance to prevent neighbors from going overboard and complaining about minor applications that perhaps it's a difference of opinion, but in the end of it, doesn't affect the property or the character of the property at all.
That's it. Say,
Well, that's what the minor applications, if they don't significantly or materially change the characteristics of the property, are considered minor. That's my understanding of it.
Then. Oh, sorry. Oh,
Oh.
Christina, I didn't see you switched over. Christina.
I just wanted to join it and thank everybody here for agreeing to be on the land use board and taking on that responsibility. I really appreciate taking the time to do that. Liam, for your very quick learning of Robert's rules, I appreciate that. I was happy to kind of sit back earlier, and I'm kind of glad I did because it's really nice to hear the ideas from everybody here about what you see with this commission and what kind of proactive steps you hope to take. I just wanted to reiterate, I think Shauna mentioned some of the things, and actually it's sort of a good transition from like, what is the scope of this group? I would only say like what I had kind of hoped when we were putting together this ordinance for this group. Certainly something that would be easier to administer, hopefully easier for property owners, so folks properties in the district and outside on the inventory, with, as you saw, the differentiation between minor and major. But it's not all just about hearing what comes your way. I think we also are really excited about the idea of this group coming up with, as Shauna mentioned, the design guidelines with objective criteria, robust objective criteria, and also guidance for folks with these historic properties. Liam, I know you mentioned how do we get the voice of the public? I think that process, once we'll work with an outside resource to put that together, I presume. But when that process is ongoing, I think that's an amazing time to get public input, not on just which individual properties do we think are historic and important, valuable to Red Bank, but also what types of design do we see? What do we value aesthetically in the town? So I'm so excited to see you work on that. Just like small ask, just like a little bit of work. And Marjorie, I also appreciate that you're interested in taking a look throughout the town as well. Obviously, we preserved the existing two districts, Broad Street and Washington Street, and those individual sites that are already part of the master plan element. But I think that's totally fair. And now this group with the new ordinance has a path, a proper way to potentially designate sites that are outside of that today. So if there's interest within this group to do that, and like you said, Marjorie, I think even in other parts of town, I think that is great and essentially town. So thank you for agreeing to do this. And
Sorry, Christina, for the record, your address.
Christina, 122 Riverside Avenue. Christina.
Ben Forrest, 16th, well, I just wanted to thank all of you for agreeing to serve. I think there's more on the agenda for tomorrow, I think. So that's wonderful. I just took a walk in your neighborhood and the historic district, I should say. And it's so important to protect the character and beauty of our town and do it in a way that's common sense, that people who live in the neighborhood are proud to be part of the historic district. It's not an unnecessary burden. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Sure.
Cindy Barnum, 71 Wallace. Marjorie, you know what I wanted to mention to you was Chris, the former chair. He was interested in getting Rector Place. Or
Right.
Designated.
what's the word designated? Yes.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, and Shauna, maybe you can help me with this. Are they planning to tear down 2 houses on Rector?
Not that I have before me. I have nothing before me for it.
Nothing what?
I have no application before me for, I'd have to check.
I read the.
Across from the Molly Pitcher. 4 of those buildings across from Molly.
You're telling me it was Riverside?
If that's it, we're talking.
That they're demolishing?
4 houses.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Rector Place is interesting. It was a site of an orphanage up through the 1930s.
That is really a historic street.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thanks.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, one more, sorry.
So Sullivan, 53 Walnut Street. I also want to thank you all for volunteering. It's also coming to hear some of the thoughts, particularly Marjorie's, angle about expanding the, designated areas and so forth. Excuse me. I really like to think that we could have a view of the town as a whole, a theme for the town. Because I worry that if you're only focused on the currently designated areas, that we're gonna lose our properties when you have no input. So I'm hoping with liaison with the council that potentially expand the powers, or at least the integration with the zoning planning boards. So that prevent valuable properties being knocked down. I don't know whether the billboard, the bridge has been passed or not, but that to me strikes me as that doesn't match what we should be pushing to. Even how the south side coming up from the train tracks from the south is a very attractive, more attractive area. Anyway, so appreciate your work, and I hope you bring your initiative in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now?
Yes.
Don't think I want to get out of here, but I'm watching the clock. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So do you good job? First time. Papers, Paul.
So,
Those. You know what else I'm wondering?
I'm sure you have a solution.